how God got them across the Jordan, defeated Jericho and Ai. And then, of course, the deception of Gibeon. But then God used that to destroy all the kings of the south, the 5 kings of the south. And then later, of course, when the kings of the north heard about what happened to the south, they thought they could defeat Israel, but they could not. And now we've come to the point where Israel, the nation of Israel, rules all the way from Lebanon all the way down to the borders of Egypt, down to Kadesh Barnea. Well, this chapter 13, that we're going to look at tonight, is the division of the land. And Moses had already given instructions on how the land was to be divided. And it was to be divided by lot. The areas were broken up, and then you would cast lots for that different area. And the lot, the biggest area that was set aside, the lot fell to Judah. Now, that's not to be surprised. That's not surprising, because this is the area, or this is the tribe, Joshua and Benjamin, basically, that God blessed the most greatly. And Joshua got the land, or rather Judah got the land from Kadesh Barnea, the borders of Egypt, all the way up to Jerusalem, right across to the Mediterranean. So it was a very interesting situation. But it's sad, as you read this chapter 13, you will find that though they had conquered the land, basically taken over all the major cities, destroyed all the kings, and driven out the kings and their gods and so on, there were small pockets around the land, small cities, that were not taken. And we do that as Christians. I don't know why, but we look at some big areas in our life, work on big areas in life, and conquer the sin of those big areas of life, and we let these little areas get away. And eventually those little areas come back to haunt us and destroy us. That's what happened to the nation of Israel. It's interesting that we read that Gad, up the western coastline, there were a lot of little cities, little towns on the Mediterranean, that those tribes that ruled those areas didn't worry about those little towns. They said they're just fishing towns. They're just a bunch of fishermen that have a few little boats. We don't have to worry. But that wasn't the issue. It wasn't that they're going to build up a powerful army. The issue was they were not faithful to the God of the nation of Israel. They had their own gods. And slowly the people began to intermarry with these people that they should never have married. It's one of the fears that I have here in America. It's all very well. I'm not opposed to immigration. I'm an immigrant myself. But you have to be careful of the people that you allow to immigrate into your country, that they don't bring in their gods. And particularly some groups of people who are so committed to their gods that they will defy the very rules of the nation to which they have come and try to change the rules in this nation. And we're seeing this, aren't we, with some of the people who are becoming senators and congresspersons in America who are strong Muslims. It's going to ruin us, therefore not very, very careful. And this is what happened. The nation of Gad, for example, they had several cities, and they intermarried with the people there, and it began to weaken the entire nation of Israel. Something we have to be very, very careful about. But let me look with you at this chapter 13 in the first 7 verses, and this is what we read in the first 7 verses. Now Joshua was old and advanced in years. He was probably 85, 90 years of age by this time. And the Lord said to him, "You're old and advanced in years, and there remains yet very much land to possess. This is the land that yet remains, all the regions of the Philistines and those of the Gershurites and Shehor, to the east of Egypt, northward to the boundary of Ekron. It is counted as Canaanite. There are 5 rulers of the Philistines down there in Gaza: Ashdod, Ashkelon, Gath, and Ekron. These are small towns along the Mediterranean. And those in the Avim in the south. And all the land of the Canaanites in the mirror that belongs to the Sidonians, and Aphek, and the boundary of the Amorites, and the land of the Gebalites, and Lebanon towards the sunrise, from Balgad below Mount Hermon to Lebo Hamath, and the inhabitants of the hill country from Lebanon to Misrahoth, Mayhem, even to the Sidonians, and I myself will drive them out from before the people of Israel. Only allot the land to Israel for an inheritance, as I have commanded you. Now therefore divide this land for an inheritance to the 9 tribes and half the tribe of Manasseh." Now the reason it says 9 and a half, of course there were 12 tribes, but 2.5 of the tribes went to the east of Jordan, and the other 9.5, of course, to the west. Well, this is a very interesting account. What's the moral here? And the moral of this is don't relax on the past success. Always be vigilant to what the future holds. Here was this nation of Israel who had done so well, but they relaxed in their success. And the enemy came in little cities, ebbed its way into the nation of Israel, and eventually destroyed the northern portions of the nation. Okay, well, I'm looking forward to having you with us tomorrow night. God bless.